do it. Hello, my name is Brad Bodnerchuk, and welcome to the Half a Dozen Hospitality Podcast, where we discuss everything hospitality, from the food on the plate to the teams that make it happen and the community that drives this industry forward. On this podcast, we sit down and chat with some of the most exciting, inspiring, and innovative minds that make up one of the most dynamic industries that there is today. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by none other than Erika Weissenborn from Fresh in Your Fridge. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
I was super nervous about last names.
You got my last name.
Well, no, like I was saying before we turned the mics on, I've been avoiding last names for a long time. And I feel like it's not disrespectful, but a little bit disrespectful. So I'd be like, and welcome to the show, Erika. It could be literally any Erika in the world.
Who?
Yeah. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no. And thank you so much for coming on to the show today. I say this ad nauseum to all my guests. I'm a firm believer the most valuable thing that you and I have is time. So thank you so much for giving yours to myself, the show, and the listeners today.
Great. Good to be here on a very rainy Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah. Good thing to do on a Tuesday afternoon
totally.
when it's raining. I was thinking, I always think about the first question on the podcast, and I like to mix it up a little bit just for myself and also for the listeners.
Okay.
So the question I had for you was kind of more of a statement. I wish that we had agreed to do this at your place, only because, and we'll get into this obviously with your business and the name of your business, but I really wanted to do like an MTV Crib kind of look into your fridge. So segue into we'll get into the business and the name and all those things, but can you give us right now, the listeners, a visual of what would be right now in your fridge? Don't be embarrassed if it's just like soy milk and an old hot dog. Like, let us know what's in there.
Yeah, my fridge might not be that exciting right now. I got back from Whistler on Sunday night. I had a big dinner party on Sunday night, but it was like pasta and wine type dinner party. Okay. So I think I've got not the basics. I've got eggs from the farmer's market. I've got lots of apples, carrots, kale, tons of condiments, really good jar of Bubby's pickles.
Oh, shout out Bubby's.
Yeah. Leftover pasta. My fridge is not the pinnacle of health and well-being.
No, it sounds pretty healthy though. And a lot of vegetables.
Lots of vegetables, lots of fruits. I always have stuff that you can like throw together pretty quickly. And then freezer full of good meats.
I'm intrigued. Sorry to interrupt. I'm intrigued by this pasta dinner though on Sunday. I'm assuming this is an invite only crowd.
It was a 72nd birthday party that I hosted at my house. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. It's just for, can I take a stab at a friend? Okay. Cool.
Yeah. He's sort of like my Vancouver dad. I call him.
Cool.
Yeah. Good family friend.
Where are you born and raised?
I was born in Vancouver. My mom owned a house at 3rd and Vine. So that's where I was born. And then I grew up on the Sunshine Coast.
Oh, cool.
I was there.
I love Sunshine Coast.
Yeah. Awesome.
Shout out to my friends Jacob and Jenna who own Lone Wolf Bakery.
Oh,
in
yeah,
Seashell.
Jenna
Have you been?
Nessman.
Yeah, you know Jenna?
Yes. I have tried to go to the bakery a couple times, and it seems like they're doing really well. It was always like closed or sold out of bread.
Yeah, they're doing really well. Not to make this about me, because this is not what it's about, but we are hosting, this year, we're hosting 6 dinners throughout the year.
Kristen told me about this.
Yeah, so we're doing 6 dinners. The first one's February 23rd. Tickets go on sale in a couple of weeks. And each dinner is associated with a local charity, a local food-based charity. So Growing Chefs is one, Backpack
Amazing.
Buddies is one, Salvation Army, Union Gospel Mission, the Greater Vancouver Food Bank. Anyway, Jacob, Jenna's partner and the co-owner of Lone Wolf Bakery, is actually curating the December dinner, December 2019. So he used to be a cook and chef at La Quercia, which is a great Italian restaurant here locally. I don't know if you know. Have you been to La Quercia?
I have not.
Oh my God, you should go.
Yeah.
We should go.
Okay.
So he is going to be curating the menu for the December dinner, which is going to be incredible. So maybe you'll have to come and check it out.
I would love to. Yeah.
I digress. Let's get into it.
Okay.
So tell me the who, the how, the what, the where, the why, and the when. You in this industry, you in food. Why are you doing this? Why aren't you in marketing? Why are you doing this? And why aren't you selling tires for a living? Like, what about this space drew you to make this your business and make this your industry?
Well, food is so much more delicious than tired. First off.
True.
I got into nutrition first off. So right out of high school, I went to UBC and studied nutritional science. And that sort of came from having quite a few health issues when I was a teenager that I couldn't really put my finger on, couldn't really figure out. And the way that I knew how to feel better was through figuring out how to eat properly when I was like 15, 16. So when it came time to what's next, that was the obvious next step. So went and studied nutrition for 5 years at UBC, and then went on to study holistic nutrition at the Institute of Holistic Nutrition. And yeah, from there, it was an interesting path, but I kind of moved away from the clinical nutrition aspect more into the food aspect, because that seems like what people need more help with, is the actual practicality of eating well these days versus more advice.
So was it, as you were going through education, did your current business model, did it come to you then, or did it come later on?
No. Yeah. People ask, how did you come up with this idea? I said, it just kind of fell in my lap. People were asking for this, and I just ran with it. And I had a lot of resistance to going this way for quite a while. As we all do, yeah. And eventually it was like, wow, this is so obvious. This is what people want, and this is what people need. And so I grew up from there.
So Fresh in Your Fridge has been in business since
4.5 years. So September 2014 was when I hired my first nutritionist, and I was cooking personally for people before that. But that was the inception.
Amazing. So for the listeners that don't know what your business is, and educating me further than what I've seen on the website, help us understand what Fresh in Your Fridge is.
So we are an in-home cooking service. I've got a team of 14 holistic nutritionists, and we go into our clients' homes typically once a week, do all the grocery shopping, all the cooking, all the cleanup, and then leave lunch and dinners in our clients' fridges for them to enjoy through the week. We usually work with people who want home-cooked meals instead of meal delivery packages, drop-off type things, and also with people who have many food sensitivities, or they're on a therapeutic diet, or they need something more specific than what a lot of those companies can deliver. So we've niched ourselves, without even really trying, into something. We kind of fill in all the blanks between all the different types of services, from the meal delivery to like the prep kit type thing.
So the nutritionists you have on staff, they're fully capable with a knife as well?
Yeah, we do make sure of that. First and foremost, they're nutritionists, so they know how to prepare all these special diets, and they're quite skilled in that, but they also have culinary training in different aspects, and just a love for the kitchen. So,
amazing.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you were cooking for people before you brought on like your team, if you will.
Yeah.
So was it Fresh in Your Fridge then as well, or did it look a lot different?
It was just something I was doing. It didn't have a name.
Oh, okay. So just a side hustle.
Exactly. I was trying to build a clinical nutrition practice. So I was seeing clients in that capacity. I was seeing clients online, and I have a friend, Sarah, and she asked me if I would come cook for her and her husband. And I did. And then she told everyone she knew, and then they told everyone they knew. And here we are, 6 years later.
It's so cool listening to people like you talk. And when I say like you, meaning entrepreneurs, young business women in particular. Our mutual friend, Kristen from Hoochie Booch. Her story is almost similar, just in how like it came to be. And it seems it's such a abused term right now, but it seems so organic, like the creation of what you're now doing. What is your business? Do you feel that way? Like, do you feel like at any point you were trying to put a square peg into a round hole, or this really flowed for you into what it is today?
I mean, yes and no. When I look back over the last 4.5 years, I feel incredibly grateful of how things have just flowed so smoothly, and it feels like, doors have opened in many different areas. And then there's also been periods of extreme struggle and like, what the hell am I doing? So it keeps getting easier and easier as I go along. But definitely the first year was like figuring out all those logistics and all the different aspects of the business. It was painful. It was awful.
I think it's always evolving though, right? I think any business, even looking at I had a conversation last night with a good friend of mine about Starbucks Reserve. Like even looking at what they're doing with their brand, like they're evolving and they've been around for a long, long time, making a lot of money. But they're doing something that's different and they're constantly evolving, and you have to as a business.
Yeah, you can't stay still.
No.
And that scared me for a while. I was like, how do I keep up? And now I realize it just sort of continues to happen as we're listening to clients and what they want, and our staff and what they want, and that evolution isn't an issue anymore. So
I would love to get your take on the latest edition of the Canadian Food Guide. And I had a conversation this morning with my mother-in-law who listens to every episode. Hello, Linda.
Hi, Linda.
Linda is amazing. She is in fantastic health. Thank God. She is 72 years old and she's super active and very aware of what she puts into her body. But I was interested in what she shared with me this morning because this food guide came out, mid last week or early last week here in Canada?
I don't know specifically when it came out.
So not long ago.
Yeah.
And the gist of the food guide, I actually haven't even looked at the whole thing, but the gist of what I'm hearing about it, it's far more plant-based, heavy, taking proteins down to like a third or less of your meals per week. And it was interesting to me because Linda is now cutting out whole eggs, and she's cutting out this and she's cutting out that. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't help but think, man, the power that government has just to release something and then it all of a sudden becomes a new trend, if you will. So the long-winded question I'm trying to ask you is, one, what is your take on where we're going right now with food, both locally and globally? And two, over the last 4.5 years in your business, what have you seen as far as trends come and go? I mean, gluten-free was a big thing for a long time. It still kind of is. Mm-hmm. Now we're seeing things like obviously plant-based diets are really, really popular, ketogenic diets, things like that. So is there anything else you can share that you've noticed in working with your clients or working through your nutritionist that you've had to really remain on top of in regards to like understanding trends and seeing what's coming next or seeing what actually has legs to last?
Yeah, for sure. So the first question was around globally
and locally, like where are we at with food? Like what's happening with food in your opinion?
I mean, it's the change in the food guide from what I've seen and heard so far is like a trend in the right direction. It's funny how lagging it is. Yeah. Right. Like I think in Vancouver and, West Coast in general, we've been aware of these things. We don't need dairy in our day-to-day diet to be healthy. We've been aware of these things for years and years. So it's nice that catch up is happening. It would be nice if it happened a little bit quicker. I think overall people are becoming extremely more aware around the importance of eating whole foods, having less packaged foods, etc. The problem is fulfilling that, spending the time, taking the time to actually create those meals, and that's where a lot of, I think, the meal prep and meal delivery healthy food restaurants are coming in. So yeah, it's a trend in the right direction. I also think we live in a bubble here in Vancouver, so it's always interesting to travel to other places and see things aren't changing necessarily as quickly, but here it's amazing like how quickly things change and how much, just even the farmers market over the past couple of years, how that's just exploded. Yeah. I think 5 years ago there were like 1 or 2 in the city. Now there's like 10 or 11.
And they're all substantially bigger on their own, which is so great to see.
Totally. And then in terms of just trends within the business and keeping on top of them, the specific diets are, people always... Okay, the first thing I'll say is, have you heard of the FODMAPs diet?
No. Can you spell it for me?
It's an acronym, FODMAP.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I don't know what it's.
That's cool. We'll Google it.
FODMAPs. Yeah. Mono something. It basically, we're cutting out a certain type of starch that ferments in the gut, and so doctors have started to prescribe that. usually in previously they haven't gone like the dietary route so often for gastrointestinal issues, but they prescribe this FODMAPs diet a lot. So that's been something like, yes, I'd heard of it. Yes, I knew a little bit about it. But about 2 years ago, there was this huge influx of FODMAPs diet. So it was like, all right, that's like all of a sudden our specialty and what we need to focus on. But it was cool. It was like people were really being helped by it as well. But it's so specific that it's challenging for someone to implement on their own. In terms of plant-based, it's funny. I think overall in Vancouver, there's a lot more plant-based, vegan, vegetarian, if you want to call it that. In the business, we see a lot more ketogenic and paleo type diets. Now, when we bring something like that on, I always talk to the client and kind of, make sure that they really understand, if we're going to do this, like, you got to actually commit to this. This isn't the silver bullet to, weight loss and all those types of things if you're going to do it kind of half-ass.
Willy-nilly.
Yeah. But we see a lot of that. And I think first off, it's just about providing them the best quality food that they can have and see how that works. And then maybe fine-tuning from there.
How does it differ in your mind, educating someone and like preaching to them? So when someone comes to you and they may be a little bit overweight and they want to get a 6-pack and whatever situation is, they're like, let's do keto.
Right.
And do you just give the client what they want, which is what a lot of restaurants do here in the city? No?
No.
Okay, cool.
Because so typically we cook half of someone's meals for the week. Not like every single meal that they're eating. And so if someone says, cool, I want to do keto, I'm like, great. How are you going to do that when we're not cooking for you? And if they can tell me how, then we can do it. If they are just kind of shooting for something and they don't know the reality of how much work it'll take, and if they're going out on weekends and what choices they'll need to make in restaurants and things like that, then I'm like, okay, great. Why don't we start with something that's a little less committal? So yes and no. We give people what they want, but I like to make sure it's realistic, because otherwise it's like, what's the point?
Why are they hiring you then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm intrigued then to know, and maybe we can check back in and do round 2 here, you and I, but I'm intrigued to know
what's next.
Well, no, and just like, how soon are you going to start getting requests that emulate what the government has just published? Do you know what I mean? And I wonder if businesses like yours, even just our industry as a whole, needs to be very, very fingers on the pulse of things like that. Okay, so if that is the case, people are going to start, their tastes and their demands are going to change. So maybe I don't need to order in a full side of grass-fed beef this week, because we may not be able to sell it, because now the government's saying cut out red meats, or you know what I mean? So I just wonder if, and I'm sure there are businesses like yours that listen to that media and use intel like that to go, okay, this is going to somehow impact us somehow, some way, and then start to potentially like be on their toes for that adaptation.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I feel like the majority of the clients have kind of made their dietary choice like aside from the food guide or something that's a little bit more institutionalized in that way. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah.
Stay tuned
for an
update. You mentioned kind of like the A and B clients of who you're working with right now, but if someone's listening and they don't really understand, am I the right person for Erika? Like, I really could use some help. I don't really understand what I should be eating, and man, it'd be really nice to be having like fresh food in my fridge. So to the listeners, how do you describe your perfect quote unquote client? Like, who's the perfect client for you that's listening right now?
Well, we have so many perfect clients. We love working with families.
Okay.
Because a lot of the times the meal delivery services are just not catered enough for their needs, like taking into consideration, the 2-year-old daughter who's picky with XYZ, or someone has an allergy to X, and at the end of the day they want home cooked meals versus sort of this like kind of takeout feeling to them. So I would say that's one of our favorite clients. And we also work with a lot of professionals who are working 10, 11, 12 hours a day sometimes, and really want the highest quality and just the specificity, right? They want that customization versus just choosing off the menu and getting what they get. So yeah, does that answer your question?
100% it does.
Okay.
Let's talk about strange requests.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you're in such a unique position where you're dealing with the public in their own homes, which is such a cool and personal thing. Like one, food itself is so personal, but then going into someone's space and engaging with their food and with their family is also very personal. We won't name names, obviously, but what has been to date like the strangest requests that you've had, or have they all been pretty cookie cutter? Nothing really. There's no like dirty news you can share.
Well, yeah, maybe this isn't strange, but yeah, we worked with one woman on the North Shore who she was going through many health issues, and she had a spreadsheet for us of like, it was like 3 different diets and like all the sensitivities, and like the amount that she could eat at the end of the day was so limited. Like she could have 12 different foods or something like that. And we had to keep it organized in this spreadsheet to like understand what was.
Did the student in you kind of love the spreadsheet though? I know Lindsay, my partner, she like geeks out on Excel spreadsheets. So
yeah, I was very thankful that she made it, because that's not usually how we get the information. But yeah, we were still able to make. She was like, "You're not going to be able to make meals for me," and we did. It was challenging.
Yeah.
And then actually in this was probably one of the stranger clients that we had. Do you know? Have you heard of Dota 2? Or Dota?
Dota? No. This is awesome. I gotta go Google this stuff after this.
This is not food related. This is a video game. Yeah. I don't even know how to describe it. There's some of the listeners are going to be like, what are you doing?
They're like, that's not what Dota is, Erika.
It's this huge competition that was here in Vancouver in the summer.
Oh, I think, yes.
Yeah.
I think at Rogers Arena where the Canucks play. Yeah. I actually did an interview that night with the girls from Kula Foods. Do you know Kula Foods?
Okay. Yes.
Afro vegan.
Right. Yeah.
Amazing food. Asha is such a beautiful woman, and you guys should connect. She's amazing.
Cool.
So I interviewed them that night, but I had no idea what was going on.
Okay.
And it was this thing.
Yeah.
And I was just so I don't want to steal your thunder, but here's where I'm guessing you're going with this. This person that hired you is a Dota player. And they don't have time to make their meals, but they want something nutritious because they need to be like, firing on all cylinders. So they hired you and your team to make them Dota fuel food.
Kind of, yeah. It was teams.
Oh, right. Yeah, there's actually a team locally now as well.
No, but they weren't local. They came from Russia. And there were 2 teams that we cooked for. I think there were actually 4 Russian teams here altogether. And so they rented these huge houses out in Richmond, and we cooked for them for 2 weeks while they were practicing, not while they were actually in the competition. And it was very interesting. There were just like many, cultural differences in food and dietary differences, and there was a lot to navigate in that couple of weeks.
That's exciting, though.
It was interesting and exciting.
What was your biggest takeaway from that?
Oh geez.
Besides just a killer story to tell on a podcast.
They really like buckwheat.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
In what form? How they do like buckwheat pancakes?
Toasted buckwheat cooked with butter.
Toasted like buckwheat bread.
No.
Oh.
Just buckwheat.
Toasted buckwheat.
Like boiled like rice and cooked with butter. I had no idea.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That seems more like Dutch to me than Russian.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Speaking of like global cuisines, when you were cooking for people before the inception of Fresh in Your Fridge, or even now if you're working on curating a menu, where do you take inspiration from with your food? Are you someone that really takes flavor profiles from all over the world? Or do you feel like if we looked at, I don't know, say 90 days in the life of Erika and what you eat personally and kind of what you curate for yourself, we could say like, oh, it's definitely, has like a Caribbean vibe or a Japanese vibe. Like, Or is it a
I don't
mishmash?
think so. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of quality above all else.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an interesting question. I I think I think that's actually a place where we sort of fall short in Fresh in Your Fridge, is like really understanding all the different global cuisines, and especially in Vancouver we have so many different cultures, and people will ask like, can you come and cook us sort of more traditional type Indian food but make it healthy? And I'm like, we can try, but it's
butter chicken's pretty hard to
yeah, and to do it as well as their family traditionally has. So in terms of inspiration, yeah, there's many different blogs and recipe books that we go to, but in terms of international cuisine, we fall a bit short. Like we try, it's just there's so many different aspects to know, and I think the biggest focus is kind of working with limited diets and making them super interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you build flavor if, say, someone, this is really putting you on the spot here, but how do you build flavor if, say, for example, pardon me, that I am a athlete and I need to have a really low body fat. So my fat intake needs to be low. So all I'm eating is really like avocados and a little bit of olive oil.
Yeah.
So butter and stuff is out. Well, butter to me is a great way to build flavor on things like vegetables. So how do you build flavors in dishes if someone is limited to have intake lower on like their fats?
Yeah, and that's something we work with every day, because there's a lot of people that we work with who can't have garlic, onions, like
the base of basically all good food.
So I mean, initially I have a conversation, and like, especially if this is something newer that they're doing, it's like, all right, this is the reality of like your food is going to taste different than, let's say, someone was eating out every day, and we go on to something that's very low fat, very, very clean. I kind of give them a bit of a pep talk. I'm like, great, glad you're doing this. We're going to make beautiful food for you, and it's going to taste different. And like your taste buds need to change to enjoying vegetables. But we'd really we use a lot of herbs and spices and salt sort of appropriately in that capacity, good quality salts. And then when we're cutting out onions and in that case we would use more onions and garlic and texture and things like that. If we're cutting out onions and garlic and any spicy foods, it's like we'll really go to herbs and lemon and using citrus. And it's that's one of the most challenging things, and I feel like I've sort of fallen short, and the nutritionists have really because I'm not in the kitchen as much as I used to be, and the nutritionists are excelling at that, and just so creative with having limited options and how to make things interesting.
That's cool.
After, and I mean, we've had clients for 2 or 3 years, and at that point the nutritionists are coming to me and saying, I'm feeling a little tapped out. I'm like, hey, 2 or 3 years, that's no kidding.
It's a long
run. Good for you. Yeah.
So how do you then as a team re-energize?
We use each other.
Yeah.
Because there's 14, 15, 16 of us, including me and my admin. And so we work off of each other, and it continues to just be new energy and new ideas and new sort of creations.
What can people expect if they reach out after this episode? They go to freshinyourfridge.ca.
Calm,
thank you. Like that. They go to freshinyourfridge.com. They fill out, I'm assuming, an intake form or something. And
it's just a contact me form.
Cool.
They'd have an initial conversation with me. Okay. That's kind of my first step, is hey, are we a good fit for you? And having that conversation.
So you and I have had that conversation, and I'm signing up, and let's do this.
Yeah.
Day one, what does it look like from opening the door to then closing the door?
Well, a couple steps back. So after we figure out if it's a good fit for them, I come into their home for an hour.
Okay.
And we do more of an in-depth meeting around, what are their likes, dislikes, preferences, allergies, what are their goals? So we're really kind of goal oriented, and then go through their kitchen and make sure they have everything they need to get started. And if not, then we can help with,
curating that.
Yeah. And then from there, we match them with a nutritionist. So they work with the same person ongoing. So there's a degree of trust that's built there, and just understanding around diet and preferences. So they get intro to their nutritionist. Nutritionist makes their first menu, sends it to them 3 days in advance. So they have an opportunity to say, hey, looks great, or let's make these changes. Feedback is welcome.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, the nutritionist will go out and do a grocery shop just for them, and come to their home and cook for between 2.5 and 5 hours, depending on how many people are cooking for. And they do all the cleanup, and then they leave everything in their fridge and freezer.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It sounds too easy.
Yeah, we either do like family style, sort of larger portions, soup pots, salad bowls, types like things like that, or we'll individually portion them if people are wanting to go on the run a little bit more.
I just got super hungry.
Yeah. Did you bring snacks?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
but it's just across the hall. We can go. What would you say to those potential clients listening today, and they're like super intrigued by it? But say they're a bachelor, like our friend Martin here, who we're in Martin's place. Shout out Martin. Used to be a bachelor, no longer a bachelor.
Congrats,
Isabella.
Martin.
Well done. But if a bachelor is listening and he doesn't even have like plates in his place,
right?
What are your Erika's like must-have kitchen utensils to like facilitate the ability to cook a healthy and delicious meal? Like, what are your, like, let's say 3 items that you have to have?
3 items.
Yeah. Okay. More or less or more. Okay. More. Okay.
Okay. So when we first started, we had a lot of sort of bachelor type clients. I have to think about what I'm saying.
Just so we're clear, I'm not like poo-pooing on bachelors or bachelorettes.
No.
We love you all.
Yeah.
But there's a stigma attached with like, pizza boxes in the fridge and
totally.
Oh man, I don't have a pot, like I can't boil water.
So I don't mean to rule out any potential clients here, but my experience with people who have never used their kitchen, like, or they're like, I've gone into kitchens where I open the fridge and there's like a bottle of vodka and that's it.
Right. That's amazing.
And they don't stay clients for very long because it's like not a part of their lifestyle at all yet.
Food just isn't
They're
important.
out there,
right. Vodka.
Yeah. Empty pizza, like the thought of going from like empty pizza boxes. We all eat pizza once in a while, of course.
Love pizza.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
But if that's it, and then going to eating at home, thinking about what's in the fridge, having these like primarily vegetable meals that are like, it's like it's too much of a jump. I think
too dramatic.
Unless someone's like, okay, I'm serious, I need to make a change here. Something's yeah, but that's been my experience. Is kind of like I'm like kind of pre-qualify people now a little bit. I'm like, okay, do you actually care about doing this, or are you doing it for some other reason? And that's where like maybe a meal delivery service would be a better option, price wise as well, right? Like we're a little bit more premium than a lot of the delivery services. So it's like, why would you use us?
Yeah,
like why do you
sell me on why?
Kind of,
which is fair.
Yeah.
But you're not getting off the hook on this question.
Oh, like, the top 3 things,
or 5, or 1.
Man,
I know what mine is, and I'll tell you a story about it after you answer.
Okay, they have to have. Well, I'm just thinking practicality wise.
Yeah.
You need a cutting board.
Yeah.
You need a good knife.
Yes.
And you need a pot.
Yes, totally. The good knife for me trumps everything. Obviously, you need a place to cut it.
Most of our clients don't have good knives. That's the one thing we usually bring. Is a good knife.
I had an idea shared with me years ago, and I forget who this was. If you are who I'm talking about, please reach out to me because I want to give you the shout out for this one. But he was very passionate about food and very skilled. Not a cook, not a chef, but very skilled in the kitchen. His family wasn't so. He had brothers and sisters, and obviously his parents.
Right.
And they all moved away from home, and they had their own homes. When he would get so frustrated, when he would go to their places for dinners or for Thanksgiving, Christmas, that he could never find a sharp knife. So what he did, is that your phone?
Yeah.
It's all good.
It's on silent. It's a yeah.
Is that really important?
No, it's fine.
No, do you need to get it?
No, I won't.
Because we can do that.
No.
If it's on silent and it's ringing, does that mean the person's tried you like 10 times?
Potentially.
Do you want to check it?
No.
Let's check it.
Okay.
Go check it. Yeah, it's good. I'll tell my story while you're checking it. So what he did was, as Erika hopefully puts out a fire here, he started gifting to all of his family really nice, really sharp No, just knives. The knife was like the big thing. The knife was the thing that kind of, you can't start a really good meal without a sharp knife. Do you know what I mean? Whether you can have onions or not, or whether you can just flip. Yeah, you got there. You know what I mean? Like you have to have a sharp knife. So he started going and like
Absolutely.
buying really nice knives, and that was like what you get for Christmas from this guy was a knife, and it would stay there because he knew when he came to your house, he could use a sharp knife.
Yeah. It's a game changer.
Welcome back. Is everything okay?
Everything's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry
It wasn't
about that.
no, not at all. It wasn't like a Russian buckwheat request.
No. Thank God that's out of my life.
I'm sure you would accept some more Russian Dota players.
Yeah, we learned a lot.
Yeah.
We definitely know how to handle it better now.
That's a good segue. Let's talk about learning because it's so important in what we
Mm-hmm.
do in food and just in business and in life. How does the business look different now, 4.5 years later? I know you said there's been a lot of like, oh crap moments.
Yeah.
But here's an even better question. Sorry.
Yeah.
What would the Erika today, the owner and operator of Fresh in Your Fridge, tell Erika 4.5 years ago, the owner and operator of Fresh in Your Fridge?
Man, our customer service is just so much better, and more dialed in, and just, I remember like when I started, I was like, man, I can't wait to get to the point where this just runs smoothly in any capacity. And it's like you build all of these little operational things, and now that's the case. Like, there's not fires that need to be put out anymore, almost ever.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before it was just all the things that we hadn't thought of, access into people's apartments and homes, and just laying out all the standards of how we work. And it actually, in this last year, we've really set more standards for the nutritionists as well, and like what's their work environment, coming into people's homes. But that doesn't mean that it's kind of like they can be treated however, or the kitchen can be a total mess or anything like that. So
that's evolved.
Setting
like systems?
standards are a lot higher
Mm-hmm.
in who we bring on as clients, and who we bring on as nutritionists, and just the way that we work in that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, and I'm like seeing that flow, but it's taken a long time to build all those little pieces.
Yeah, I'm always intrigued by hearing people's struggle, because I actually am a big fan of struggle. I hate it. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But there's just so much.
Oh, you have to.
Yeah. Whether it's like at the gym
Come
or
on, that's being an entrepreneur. Like you can't. Yeah. Yeah. Or at the gym or whatever.
Anything.
Right?
If you want growth, there needs to be some pain.
Absolutely.
But I think so many of us, and hey, whatever you choose to do with your life, you do you. But I now seek that discomfort.
I'm kind of over the hump of that a little bit now. I feel like in Fresh in Your Fridge, and there's still stuff that comes up where I'm like challenged and having to stretch myself, but it's not to the same capacity that it was. And there's almost this fear that like it's like gonna be boring all of a sudden. I'm like, oh, because the deep struggle is kind of gone from it. It's not boring.
So
I don't know why I keep thinking.
Yeah, no,
that's gonna happen.
Well, you're dealing with again. I think the most intimate thing that we all deal with, and something that we all have a biological need, which is food. So you're intimately dealing with. Food is just so personal.
Yeah,
it's so personal.
Yeah.
And obviously, you're going into people's homes. It's also very personal as well. Like this is their space, like their safe space. So I think that's always going to be evolving for you. And speaking of evolution, if we can look, and I don't know if this is kind of in you as a person to do this, but do you look ahead? Like what is 4.5 years from now look like for Fresh in Your Fridge? Is it the same? Is the team bigger? Are you national? Are you North America wide? Like what is it in your mind's eye? Or do you look that far out?
Yes and no. Like I've always been a very goal-oriented person, and I was actually speaking with someone this morning. I've always kind of been in like accountability groups or something like that over the past 6 or 7 years, just to make sure that I'm like,
doing stuff.
Going. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easier now. In the beginning, it wasn't as easy. So there's this kind of balance of like having goals and having ambitions, very short term, a lot of the times, like 3 months, 6 months down the road. But then at the same time, just like having the business so in front of my face that it's hard to have that vision sometimes still, because I'm still like, okay, what? Oh my God, it's happening. Oh my goodness, it's happening. Like this next little thing, you know?
Right.
But I'd love, like, you know, it's functioning so much better here in Vancouver. We still have a lot of room to grow here as well.
Mm-hmm.
I love, we're so unique still that, you know, people find us and they call and they're like, I had no idea something like this existed. I'm like, well, it doesn't really, like, you know, there's no one else kind of doing this at this capacity. So I'd love to, take it to another city once it's sort of dialed in here. Probably Toronto. I don't know though. People are always saying, bring it to the Bay Area in California, bring it to here. Like they, you know, there's tons of ideas, and I want to get it to the point where it's sort of like the Airbnb of in-home meal prep, you know?
Yeah, it can be done. I think it's definitely a scalable model. It's just like you said, I think you really have to dial in those systems so that it is just like a very repeatable, very easy. People know what to expect, both from your employees, like your contracted people, and then also your customer as well, your clients.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see this model being easily like North America wide, but it has to be done right.
Totally. And that's the thing, right? People have these grand ideas and visions, and I'm like, yep, that's true, but not there yet.
Yeah.
Like I still have a lot to learn personally. So
where are you at right now? So I have a 7-month-old daughter. So she is still very much a baby.
Yeah.
She's still very much an infant.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, she's amazing. Where is Fresh in Your Fridge? Is Fresh in Your Fridge crawling? Is Fresh in Your Fridge walking now? Is it like does Fresh in Your Fridge have teeth and they're talking, or where are we at?
This is such an interesting question. I would say it's walking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it kind of wobbly?
It's a little independent now.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. Not so wobbly. Like it's, you know, but it's not grown up yet. It's still, it's in its infancy in some way, but it's, you know, it's learned a lot already. Yeah.
That's cool.
I like that question.
Oh,
and then what's the end game? You know, is it like?
Yeah. Is it a fully functioning, responsible member of society adult?
Yeah.
I think that's where everyone wants their business to be and wants their kids to be. Is that, and feel free to interject if you guys don't feel that way. But like for me, I want my business to be impactful and something people can rely on. And when they see the brand and they see the name, they know what to expect.
Right.
But for me in my business, the consultancy side of things, and even this podcast, it's still like, we're still like drooling on ourselves and definitely pooping our pants like way more than we should.
This is a pretty fancy podcast setup. There's no drool or poop anywhere here.
Just wait till the next question comes up.
Okay.
No. But I think also in that, again, going back to what I said earlier, there's so much beauty. There's beauty in falling. There's beauty in drooling in yourself. There's beauty in messing things up, and you just have to embrace that and look at it like a lesson. And it sounds so cliche, I know, but when you get knocked down, just get right back up. And that segues nicely for me to my next question for you is, why this? Like, I know we talked about why food and kind of your background education wise, but why aren't you working for Whole Foods? Why aren't you working for a local company like Body Energy Club? Like something that's seemingly more predictable, a little easier, you might get benefits. Like, why are you, Erika, an entrepreneur? Why is this your business?
I don't know. Yeah, from a young age. So I've been fully self-employed, I think, for 7 years, 7 or 8 years. And and even before, through university, I worked at the university golf course as like a server and beer cart girl. And there's sort of some like entrepreneurialism in that, because you're like running your own show of it, figuring out, you know, the whole like
how
tip
to sell.
Mentality.
How can I get $2 more off this guy?
And then I had a job for like a year after that, and it was good. I learned a lot there. There was a lot of it was like a health food place. But near the end I was like, I can do this better. And like there was something which was so naive, so crazily naive, but there was something in me that I just like, I know I couldn't go back, you know? My mom has also been self-employed her whole life, but it wasn't. Shout
out mom. Is mom still in business?
Yeah. Her business is called Fresh from the Coast.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see what you guys are doing there, taking over the world.
It's a store on the Sunshine Coast. It sells only locally made goods.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Whereabouts on the coast?
Seashell.
Nice.
Yeah.
How far from Lone Wolf?
2 blocks, 3 blocks.
There you go, neighbors.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
Um.
So your mother kind of, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it wasn't something I looked up to when I was a kid.
Oh no,
to
that's what I
be
was gonna
honest.
say.
No, it
Oh,
was
okay.
like, oof, this looks really hard.
That's a hustle.
Yeah, and especially on the Sunshine Coast, right? But yeah, I think it was sort of bred into me.
For those of you listening that aren't local here in Vancouver or in Canada and don't really understand what the Sunshine Coast is, it's beautiful, very picturesque. Not a far ferry ride.
It's a peninsula.
It's peninsula. Thank you so much. Not a far ferry ride. I think it's like 48 minutes from Vancouver to there. But it would lend itself to very traditional, very seasonal business, like ups and downs, if you will. Like summer months, most businesses there are doing really, really well. This time of year, maybe not so much. But I also think, if I can talk about Lone Wolf again, like I talked to Jacob just the other day, and he was saying like, man,
were they on the podcast?
They were, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I went up there and did it months ago.
Cool.
In their space. But they're saying now like they're still busy. So I think
they're going to be a staple for locals, right? That's
right.
Cool. Yeah,
right. But speaking to that, I think a business like yours or a business like Lone Wolf Bakery, or I'm assuming business like your mother's, if you do things really well, you're creating insurance for yourself that there is no downtime. And it's so easy in this industry, in food and beverage, in the hospitality space, to like use it as a crutch, be like, oh, it's Christmas season, it's January, it's February, so we're going to be slow. Whereas there's some restaurants in this neighborhood that are smoking busy.
Yeah.
January 1st through 31st, February 15th or 16th, or Valentine's Day or not. So I think there's a lot to be said about businesses like yours that are kind of, and I don't know if you are, feel free to interject here, but not ignorant to the industry, but you don't listen to like the bad news because you're too focused on crushing it for your clients.
Yeah, I'd say that's true.
Yeah. Which is difficult. It's difficult to stay in that mindset.
Yeah.
But if you can be there, I think it's so powerful, and it means so much to your community that you're serving.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have our own trends. Christmas is quiet.
Yeah. For sure. And that makes sense.
And
because people are traveling. And,
and they're with family, and they're doing different things. Same with summer. Summer's actually, so we're kind of the opposite of like a lot of retail and probably bars and restaurants and places like that as well. September, like January, May, like all in that area is really
because people are traveling.
Sorry.
Yes, pardon me. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of when people are getting back to routine.
Back. Right. Yeah. Do you spend much time diving into that? Like, how can you mitigate those ups and downs as the owner of the business?
Yeah. I mean, I work with a business coach, and we've talked about that quite a bit. And he's given me many ideas on, how we can kind of fill in those blanks. And like at Christmas, I would be doing like Christmas parties or New Year's parties, and coming in and doing private cooking for like dinner parties instead of just more of the like weekly meal prep type setup. And same with summer, right? But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. There's like an acceptance to it as well. And luckily in our business, we don't have a lot of overhead cost. Like we don't have, the same space that a lot of other places would. So it's okay if that flows a little bit more. So I kind of accept it versus, and I've hustled really hard at Christmas a couple of years previously. And I was like,
not worth it.
It's okay. I'm okay with not doing that.
So obviously with your mother, not obviously, you can feel free to tell me, with the name of your mother's business that kind of influenced Fresh in Your Fridge.
She came up with the name.
She has this thing with fresh.
Yeah.
What about the name for you works? Why does Fresh in Your Fridge work?
It's fun. It's like, it's kind of memorable. And it describes what it is.
Yeah,
kind of,
It actually reminds me of, I'm gifting to Erika a bag of fresh milled flour from Grain, and their little slogan is dry goods for fresh people. And I just think there's so like fresh to me sounds like I'm a kid. I grew up in the 80s.
Yeah.
And like fresh to me reminds me of like 90s hip hop.
Yeah.
Like kind of like Adidas tracksuits, like fresh and cool. So that's why I like the word fresh.
Doesn't remind me of that, but yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
When you hear fresh, do you think like produce and food?
More than Adidas tracksuit, yes.
Yeah? I picture like LL Cool J with a yeah, like when someone's
we
fresh.
should make a little meme of like LL Cool J in the fridge.
Yes.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
And make
and
it go.
only you would get it.
Yeah, only I would get it. That's okay. Well, and the listeners eventually they would come around.
Totally.
I said either off the top when we were recording or not. I think I said it when we were recording. There's 2 questions that I ask every single guest, so I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
The show, as you know, is called the Half a Dozen Hospitality Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I have for you Erika Weissenborn from Fresh in Your Fridge, the half a dozen have-tos. Stay with me here.
Okay.
I need from you 1 to half a dozen, so 1 to 6, of things you experience in your life that you feel like our listeners have to experience. It can be food related or not, whether it's a trip you've taken, a book you've read, a shirt you own, a podcast you've done, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, a piece of art you've looked at,
Mm-hmm.
an album you've purchased.
Mm-hmm.
Help us just better understand you as a person. What are 1 to 6 things you've done in your life that you feel like the listeners have to do?
Well,
I like the big inhale, by the way. Yeah.
I'm thinking. This is an interesting answer from me, but I've had like not crazy health issues, but I've had significant health issues just through like my teens and my early 20s.
Impactful.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like at the time I was like, why is this happening to me? Like this is awful. It felt so unfair that I couldn't like go out and drink beers and like just like there was like a carefreeness that I didn't have.
A lifestyle you couldn't like enjoy.
Yeah. And I tried.
Yeah.
I was still getting by. But now like I'm like, yeah, so I don't want to say like go out and experience illness, but it's like I feel like I have so much more gratitude in my life.
Oh my God, yes.
And I have so much more I learned so much like being that age and having to really know myself and know my emotions and know do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier. And again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I 100% agree. And it's like the suffering, it's the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You need to touch suffering and discomfort. And there's a quote that I absolutely love that my coach shares with me, and I say it on this podcast again, probably too often, so I apologize, guys. It is Ralph Waldo Emerson, and he says, "People wish to be settled, but only so much as they are unsettled is there any hope for them." Mm-hmm. So it's like people that want to be warm and want to just stay in bed and cozy, there's literally no hope for you.
Right.
But the people that are going and getting unsettled, drinking beer and feeling ill, and then really understanding. And this brings me to another point is I'm learning now, I'm really getting into like the psychology of like how we work, and dualism is such a thing for us as human beings, meaning you wouldn't know what thriving feels like had you not been ill.
Right.
Right? You can't have dark without light. There can't be right without wrong. It has to exist. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, he said to me the other day, my coach said, if I told you it is 286 purple elephant degrees in here, is it hot or is it cold?
No clue.
You have no idea.
Yeah. Because
you have nothing to associate it to. So like you were saying, going through that time in your life, it makes you, and again, not to put words in your mouth, but you appreciate things, more gratitude because you've seen what it can feel like, and you don't want that.
For sure. And I can only imagine for people that have gone through something way more extreme than what I did, you know? But yeah, and there's so much to learn about yourself in those moments of struggle and suffering, and like, yeah, I feel like I have like an inner peace and an inner calm that is kind of unshakable a bit, you know, to a certain extent.
That's pretty cool that you can say that
experience. Yeah.
Sorry, I kind of jumped in on your have to there. I apologize.
It's okay.
That was really good.
Do we have anything else to say about that one? I have some other ones.
No, I mean, I could talk about quotes all day, but yeah.
Okay. Are you one of those people who have a lot of quotes memorized?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't have any. So
But
that's cool. That's impressive.
that one for me is just so impactful,
Yeah.
and I don't judge anyone. I try not to judge anyone that doesn't agree with that quote.
Right.
But I really do believe what he said, in that there is no hope for you if you don't get unsettled.
Yeah.
It's just too easy.
Yeah.
And this isn't supposed to be easy, meaning
Right.
life. Like there's
Right.
nothing like who said this is supposed to be easy. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's supposed to be uncomfortable. You're supposed to get sweaty. You're supposed to cut yourself.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter is supposed to fall down and hit her head. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't
Yeah.
want that to happen,
No.
but
She needs to
she
learn how
needs
to walk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, I could go on forever with that. So please, let's get back to you.
It's kind of all on the same theme, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like this is kind of a cliche answer, but I'm gonna say it anyways.
Yeah, do it. It's your podcast. You say what the heck you want.
Yeah. Yeah. On the topic of discomfort, or like even just stripping away everything that you have. I did an internship, or a experiential learning sort of internship type thing
Okay.
through UBC in Uganda. So I went and lived in
Oh,
Uganda for 4
amazing.
months when I was 21, 22. And yeah, again, like totally game changing in that every sort of Western comfort, or most of them, was stripped away. And like, who are you without your smartphone and without your
Running water and toilet.
We did have running water.
A toilet?
Sort of. Yeah.
It looked like a toilet.
Not a shower. And yeah, just like really being in a place where you're totally sort of undefined as yourself, and having to define yourself in that, you know?
Yeah, not to make this like a gratitude podcast, but I think it's awesome what you're bringing up. And it's so easy for us to get stuck in, like you said, our bubble, right? We're in a bit of a bubble, and things are kind of predictable. And like go to Uganda and don't shower for a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
What does that feel like?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And how lucky are we that we can turn the water on and it can get hot in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Or we can drink the water and it's super clean.
Oh, that's amazing.
Right?
Yeah. What else was I going to say about that?
Uganda, shower, cell phones, gratitude.
Can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, experiencing different cultures as well.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's kind of a cliche answer.
No,
I remember what I was going to say. Yeah, I spent a lot of my 20s traveling and like putting myself in uncomfortable positions. I don't have as much of a craving to do that now. I mean, I'm still put myself in uncomfortable positions, but I'm noticing how much more I'm like. I turned 30 a few months ago, but I'm like
shout wanting out 30s.
I'm wanting to nest a little bit more. You know, it's like home is like more important,
right?
Which is cool.
But there's there can be a lot of discomfort in that too. In that,
for sure.
In that maybe there's a calling for you to like go and do something and explore. Yeah. Be like, you know what?
Yeah.
My time to do this right now.
For sure. So I guess the way that I put myself in uncomfortable positions now is more with like outdoor. Like I'm wanting to get more into backcountry hiking and things like that. I'm kind of just like I've like dabbled into that, and it scares me.
Yeah, we should hook up with. I'm forgetting her name right now, but I met her through Heather Dossman. Heather Dossman is a private chef in the city, and she's been on the podcast. And her friend is a forager.
Oh, cool.
And I really want to try that this spring, summer. Like go and forage and understand like what is abundant naturally in our terroir here, because there's so much, so amazing.
And we can eat almost every plant. It's amazing when you start to understand all the plants and foliage, and you're walking through the parks here, and it's like, wow, you can eat almost all of this, but you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Educate yourselves.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add? You don't need to. Those are all like really, really good, and we kind of put a long tail on the kites.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Cool.
That's all that's coming to me for now. I don't have like a piece of art that I look at and become inspired by.
No, that's cool. The next one I have for you then, Erika, is the half a dozen haven't yet.
Haven't yet. Okay.
So same idea, but things you haven't experienced yet. So kind of a bucket list, if you will, of what Erika Weissenborn from Fresh in Your Fridge has yet to experience and really wants to.
Wow. That's a good question.
Thank you.
Good questions, Brad.
Thank you. And then just off the top of my head, this is how my brain works. Sometimes it's not a good thing, and other times it does me well.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, one thing is like, and I don't know if this is going against the grain a little bit, but I feel like I haven't yet explored my artistic side in any capacity.
Like painting, writing, singing, dancing.
Yeah. Like I write a lot. I process things through writing and journaling.
Okay.
And I think there's some creativity that comes through in the business, and other people have helped me see that, but I don't have like a creative expression in the other ways that a lot of people do. And I'm kind of like, I'm curious of what that is for me.
What do you feel like innately right now in your belly?
Oh, I guess I used to dance. I was a dancer.
Oh, yeah?
When I was like a teenager.
Okay.
But, yeah, I'm looking at like, these are amazing drawings on the wall here.
Yeah, very cool, eh?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no inkling of what that is. So it's sort of like, but like, I'm like, well, how do I start? Like, do I just start going to different classes?
Like a pottery class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's so many different options. So I think that's one thing.
Okay. Can we hold you to that? And if so, when can we find out about your artistic expressions?
Well, what are you holding me to? Like finding the one?
No, like trying. Like, hey, Brad, guess what? Tell your listeners that I tried a charcoal art and I actually really loved it, and I just bought a set. And
yeah.
So like by this time next year?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll have tried. I hope to have found that thing and to be able to do it for sort of passion, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I've recorded now close to, it's over almost 70 podcasts, and it's the first time that one's come up.
Really?
Yeah.
What do people usually say?
Travel comes up a lot, both for the have-tos and the have-nots, or the haven't-yets, pardon me. Really cool one that's come up twice is learning the piano.
Okay, mine's like a little less specific than that. Yeah,
but still cool. A lot of people fitness-related stuff like marathons. Right. A lot of people other businesses they want to open up. Yeah. A lot of people, especially chefs, that I have on, are really keen to try other chefs' foods all over the world. But yeah, travel's probably the biggest one, and just diving into other cuisines. Yeah. Because a lot of us, it's interesting actually. As I say this out loud, a lot of the guests I've had on are very well-traveled people, and I think this industry lends itself to that.
Yeah. Is it because they're is there some crossover?
No, they're not all entrepreneurs. Like a lot of them are your traditional employees.
Aspects,
So I don't know what it is. I think something with food creates a lot of curiosity, and I think if you're like, I literally look at you no different than I would a head chef or a restaurateur. Like, you are in the food and beverage industry. This is your space just as much as it is. I can't
cook that well, but yeah.
No, I know, but you're influencing what this space looks like.
Yeah.
I have no idea where I was going with that, so I'm just going to leave it at you're influencing the space like everyone else.
Cool. People travel a lot. And
people travel a lot. So yeah, sorry. Thank you. Food creates this curiosity in us, and I think I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I think this industry breeds that in us, that get outside of what you know and go learn. Yeah. Like, how is pasta made? What does it taste like in Italy? What does butter taste like in France? Like all those things. I just think food, again, for everyone, not everyone in the space, but a lot of people in the space, it just evokes so many different emotions and so many questions, and I think that's so cool. I like geek out over food.
I guess there's an artistry in cooking, right?
100%.
That's part of,
Yeah. So could that be one for you then?
Oh, for sure. And I have a food business.
Yeah.
And I love cooking, and I feel like I know a lot about food, but I don't know like traditional culinary,
like history.
No. Like just like proper like culinary techniques.
Oh,
like
okay.
More like
so like knife skills and like.
No? I guess just like we cook sort of more holistically, like I don't know, like more like you proper like restaurant kitchen
like
skills.
Scale, right? Okay, yeah.
So that's something I'm diving into this year is about the food lab That
Oh,
book,
yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like reading that and
You
like
can
learning
geek
all
out
these
on that.
different techniques around cooking meat and things like that. And I'm going to take a 3-week culinary basics course on
Through who, if you don't mind me asking?
Northwest Culinary
Oh,
Academy
yeah.
on
Great.
YouTube.
Yeah.
So stuff like that where I'm like, cool. Like I've kind of gotten away from food a little bit as it like now I run the business, right? So that's my focus is more learning about business and entrepreneurship and kind of getting back into that.
What's it going to look like day one when they give you your chef whites at Northwest and you're like, I don't know anyone here, and like, how do you, if we're flies on the wall, how do you interact? Are you like, hey, I'm Erika,
totally, yeah.
what's up? Like,
Yeah,
are you pumped? I'm pumped.
Yeah.
Do you cook? Oh, have a cool business.
I love going into rooms where I don't know anyone.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, me
Most
too.
of the time, like 99% of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
It's fun meeting people.
Lindsay, my partner, is the exact opposite. I feel like in relationships it has to be that way.
No, so I'm dating someone new, and we had this conversation actually because he's like fairly extroverted as well, and we met with one of his friends on the weekend, and he was saying that his wife is more introverted, and I was like, I've never that's never worked for me. Maybe I just haven't.
Yeah. How long you guys been dating?
Not very long, like a month and a half.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like now we're getting into a relationship podcast.
Yeah.
But, no, I just feel like it can work, obviously.
Right.
Strength and weakness and weakness being the same. But I also think, again, there's so much beauty in like, oh, that kind of frustrates me that she doesn't do that or he doesn't do that. But it's also what makes them so cool because they're so different. I'm like, oh, it's such an interesting way to look at that.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're like,
I guess as long as you're both accepting each other in the way that you do it, right?
100%. Well, I look forward to checking in on your artistic endeavors and on the relationship with this new gentleman.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's an absolute gem, and he's gonna love this podcast, I bet.
Yeah.
Are we dropping names or no?
No.
No. Okay. No. You know who you are. You better keep your, I don't know, act right or something.
Yeah, totally. What if this came out in like a month or 2 months and
you're like, Brad, you can't air it. I want to take a moment before I let you go to say thank you and to say that you may not know it, but coming on the show today and sharing what you shared and doing what you do inspires me, and also I would be willing to bet inspires lots and lots of other people. So whether they're inspired because you're an entrepreneur, whether they're inspired because you're a female entrepreneur, whether they're inspired because of your passion for helping people, don't forget that what you do makes a difference. And if it wasn't for Fresh in Your Fridge, a lot of people wouldn't have the relationships that they have with food and would probably still be suffering in lives, and they don't need to be suffering. So kudos to you for having the cojones to open up your own business, and kudos to you for 4.5 years of sticking to it. So I applaud you, and you inspire me as a person. And again, I'm sure you're inspiring lots of people listening as well. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
This was great.
We did 1 hour and 8 minutes, but before...
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just flew by, eh?
Yeah, it did. I was like, oh, we're wrapping up already. I thought it was like 20 minutes.
Do you want to talk about some other stuff?
No, I mean, we could probably... I can see why like Joe Rogan's are like 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
I can see why.
Yeah, Joe Rogan, we're coming for you, by the way.
Yeah.
With downloads, we're coming for you. We're only like, I don't know, 1/1000th off of you right now, but we're coming.
That's pretty good.
No, probably not even that close. 1/1,000,000th probably. Before I do let you go officially, if people do want to reach out, they're listening and they're like, I really like Erika, I like what she's talking about, they want to engage with you and your business, how best they do that?
Yeah, go to freshinyourfridge.com. Check us out. There's a contact form there. There's a phone number. You can reach out, and yeah, happy to chat.
Awesome. And social media as well?
Yep. At Fresh in Your Fridge. Instagram, Facebook.
Twitter?
We don't do Twitter.
No?
Really. No, okay. I don't really get the whole Twitter thing.
No?
Yeah.
I think
You'll have to teach me.
I have no idea what I'm doing with Twitter,
okay.
But okay. I use it to like one platform sends it to Twitter, and then
right.
I don't know.
Okay.
But apparently Twitter is still a thing. Thank you guys for listening to Eric and I go on and on about things that necessarily isn't food, but we just wanted to talk about it anyway, so we did, and that's what you can do when you have microphones.
Absolutely.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning as you do week after week. I truly appreciate and love you all. Be sure to check out Erika's business, freshinyourfridge.com. If you are local in Vancouver and looking to have your food curated for you in a very mindful, healthy, and scientifically sound, nutritious way. I just butchered that at the end, but you know what to do.
That's our new tagline.
Yeah, please don't use that.
Okay, wait, can I end with our tagline?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. I said it when I came in. Can you say it with me? The last part?
Oh, yeah.
So I say, what's fresh?
What's fresh?
In your fridge.
In your fridge. Oh, I get it. And if you guys are local, look out for Erika on the local news on CTV. Yeah. When's it going to air?
I think Jan 30th.
Oh,
so it might
cool.
it might be before this.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna try and let's try and push this up around the same time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, double trouble.
All the content.
Awesome.
Again, thank you, Erika. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have an amazing day. Until next time, be good and do good. That's it.
Thank you.
We did it. You crushed it.
Awesome.
That felt like